The common question that we get as real estate agents all the time is, how is the market doing? And the reality is the real estate market is always moving. We have times in the market that are faster paced than others, but for a long time in the state of Maine, we have seen record low inventory. And what that means is that there are just not as many homes to sell as there have been historically. In fact, when you look back in time, in January of 2019, we had about 5 months worth of inventory. Right now, that number is down to below 2 months worth of inventory. It hovers right around 1.3 to 1.4 months of inventory. And a lot of times people might be like, what does that mean? What do you mean by months of inventory? Well, essentially what it means is if we did not put another single family home on the market tomorrow in Augusta after tomorrow, that in 1.39 months time, we would sell through all of the inventory that we have at the current pace that we're selling. Now, that's not a guaranteed figure because obviously there are some homes that maybe nobody would buy unless the price were very close to zero, just because of the condition of those properties. And in fact, what we are seeing in this current market is that really the only properties that aren't selling are those which need a tremendous amount of work for the price that they're being offered at, or properties that were just overpriced to begin with. So there is a disconnect between what properties are selling for, what the average sale price is in the market, and what people are going to market at. I think a lot of times people see a lack of inventory and they think maybe to themselves, well, I can just sell the home at whatever price I want because Matt's just told us there's no inventory. So that must mean I can get whatever price I want for the home. But that's really not true. I mean, the value of a home is based on data, what other properties have sold for, kind of what competition there is existing on the market. Even if there's very little, that's going to be taken into account by consumers. And then at the end of the day, we have certain levels that people are qualified for to get mortgages, and the lender wants to see that the value is there as substantiated by an appraisal. So you can't just put a price on of whatever you want. But if we look at the average of what's selling in the market, we're seeing closed prices between $140 and $150 a square foot in Augusta, but we're seeing the average list price going on somewhere more in the $180 to $185 a square foot range. So what we see is a disconnect between where people are pricing at and what homes are really trading at, and that's the reason why we're seeing the average days on market be a little bit more. Right now in the market in Augusta, the average days on market is about 40 days, which is up nearly 12% year over year. And what that seems to indicate is just a little bit of a disconnect between the pricing of where people are coming at on in the market and what the market is willing to pay in this zip code. So the trend really in Maine as a whole, but especially in Augusta, is that we have very low inventory, less than a month and a half worth of supply that we would sell through if not another home were to go on the market. And we're also seeing a trend toward an increase in prices on both the list price and what the closed prices are, but still a disconnect there between those list prices and where things are selling, which seems to indicate to me that there needs to be a little bit more done to help people understand, where the market's at from a pricing perspective and what the market can bear in terms of getting those properties priced the right way so they sell quickly. That's a little bit of a snapshot what's going on in Augusta right now, and hopefully throughout this year we'll see an increase in the amount of inventory that comes on the market. We know there is many buyers that would like to see that happen.